this when we first need to look at how light and radiation in general works. Then we can understand how light is harvested into a narrow beam. With that beam of light, many things are possible: better internet, industrial applications, measuring devices, and dog wires. In order to explain what a laser is, light and radiation must be understood first. All light, as we see it, is just a form of radiation on the visible spectrum. Light works from emitting from a source of said radiation, such as the sun or a light bulb, and bouncing everywhere within line of sight in all directions at once. Everything that can be seen is just light bouncing off an object, say a table, and entering into someone's eyeballs. Or in some cases, someone can be looking at the source of light directly, say through a computer screen. That's right, everything you're perceiving right now is just the decaying orbits of countless electrons entering your eyeballs. It's weird to think about, but it makes more sense the more you consider it, in a weird sort of way. All light is just radiation through this incredibly narrow spectrum. Don't be concerned with the word radiation either. This radiation people keep hearing about are just photons traveling in different wavelengths, sometimes at large wavelengths, such as radio waves, other times at small wavelengths, or just little ones, like X-rays. These photons are created whenever an electron from a high orbit decays into a low orbit, creating waves. It's easy to think of as rocks falling and hitting a pond, sending waves out. The wavelength for these photons is determined by the material that the electrons are traveling through. Sort of like how the material of the rock is will create different kinds of waves when hitting different fluids. Syrup waves will look different from crude oil waves. Oil waves will look different from water waves, and so on and so on and so forth. And because all electrons are the same, it's the same rock hitting every time. So don't be thinking, oh, if I throw a grenade, it'll look differently. No. Photons are created from an electron entering a low orbit. That's why all light appears after energy has been input into a system, say after a fire has been lit, or electricity that flows through that light bulb. So how does this apply to lasers? Well, a laser stands for light amplification by a stimulated emission of radiation. Basically, light is created by stimulating with radiation. And I'll bet you didn't know that laser was an acronym either, kind of like scuba. Well, since we know that when energy is applied to certain elements, it will give off certain wavelengths of light, then we have a radiation source of light, if you prefer. Provided that only one substance is present, only one wavelength of light will be produced. Now, all that's needed is to have light move in a single direction. What we need is standard emission, or a way of organizing everything into a neat and steady direction, like a river. All neat and single file, all going that way, away from us, towards whatever we want to point it towards. Well, light can't really be bent, but it can be redirected. With a reflective glass tube, light will bounce around and spill out the ends. With a mirror on one end, the light will only go out to the end of the tube. And with that nearly a laser has been made, the only thing left is to make the beam into a single point instead of just concentrated. This can be done by adding a mirror that only lets part of the laser through. This will cause the light to bounce back and forth until it gets released in a single line. Additionally, while these photons are bouncing around inside the material, they can cause other electrons to become charged and then discharge. This in turn causes even more light to be created, and a stronger beam is created, because the photons can activate other photons. A simple lamp can be used to input the energy into the system and activate the laser from the side. Remember those rocks falling? Well, think of it as rocks falling, hitting more rocks, and then causing those to fall, like an avalanche. An avalanche that we control. With that, we have a laser. It's just a glass tube full of a certain material, like neon, and then place a mirror on either side, insert some energy, and bam, we have a laser. Make sure one of those mirrors is silver-sided, though. Now, we don't understand how the laser can work until we understand what they are used for. Seeing as how lasers are a source of light, they do not reflect against one another, nor do they bend. But despite what's shown on TV, these devices still have a large amount of futuristic uses. For starters, they're giving the cable companies a run for their money. Lasers have their light be transmitted through fiber optic cables. Since light operates at the speed of light, these fiber optic cables can be used for rapid communications. There's no limit as to the size of the lasers or the amount of energy that can be pumped into them either. Sure, we're all mostly familiar with a little dog annoyer, a toy I used around. I wish I had one of those with me so I could demonstrate it. But if you pump enough energy into a laser, you're capable of using it for pretty much anything. Say, cutting pure steel. They, but most lasers are not that powerful. In fact, most beams cannot even be seen with the naked eye unless there is something disturbing the air, like dust or smoke. Because these lasers are undetectable, they're often used in security systems. Although many spy movies lie, even if the room is dusty or smoky or something, the beam is still likely going to be invisible. Remember, lasers exist on any spectrum of radiation, including the non-visible one. Why would it be on the visible spectrum if it's a security system? It doesn't matter. So it would be undetectable no matter what. Unless, of course, the intended purpose of the device relies on it, such as a laser pointer, like, again, that dog admirer. So, lasers don't have to be visible unless we want them to. And that's good. And here is some average power for laser, just to give you a ballpark estimate. 1 to 5 milliwatts is one of those very small laser pointers you see for annoying dogs and maybe you, and also on the inside of computers and CD players. They use it to reflect against a CD and detect the bumps, the microscopic bumps. 5 to 10 megawatts is on a DVD ROM drive. 100 milliwatts is a CD burner, meaning you're able to create those tiny bumps on a CD. 250 milliwatts is a 16 DVD R burner. 400 milliwatts burning through a jewel case, including a disc within 4 seconds. DVD for the recording. These were all pulled off of Wikipedia, by the way. If you'd like to see the complete list, I recommend looking there. A 1 watt green laser will work as a holographic versatile disc. And a 100 to 3,000 watt CO2 laser will work for laser cutting. Alright, that's cutting steel, like we mentioned earlier. And, well, to put that into perspective, 100 to 3,000 watts isn't really that much. Your average light bulb uses 60, like the one that's supposed to be pointing down at me. It appears to have burnt out. And your average microwave uses 1,100 watts. So, if you were to take your energy input and use it on a laser instead of a microwave, you'd be able to power an incredibly powerful laser. Of course, your microwave isn't on all the time, but still. That's some serious power. In short, lasers are simply light sources that have a single point. They work with photons emerging from electrons losing in orbit. These photons just bounce off of surfaces and into eyeballs. Some of them on the visible light spectrum, like radiation, can be interpreted as color to us. With a mirrored glass tube containing a substance, like neon, all that's needed is for an input energy for the laser to be created. It's really that simple. And then the laser can be used for any number of purposes, from security to communication, and that's what lasers are and how they work. Lasers can be used for pretty much anything.